Okay, next person, Carolyn Attneave. And I apologize if I'm pronouncing her name wrong, but she was born in 1920. She is a Native American, and historically, Algonquin-speaking Delaware refer to themselves as Lenape. And at first European contact in the early 17th century, the tribe lived along the Delaware River, but later, the Delaware Nation signed a treaty with the U.S. In 1778, but despite the treaty, they were forced to leave their eastern lands and move first to Ohio and then Indiana, and then Missouri, Kansas, and Indian Territory. So shifted. So it's saying like she's from the Midwest, but she's part of the Delaware. That's why, right? The Delaware, they were originally there, but they were pushed to reservations in the Midwest. So, after earning her bachelor's degree in English and theater from Chico State College, California in 1940, she initially pursued a career in elementary education. Then, she was the first Native American woman to earn a PhD in psychology. She's best known for introducing and maintaining culturally based activities and programs. She is a founding member of the Boston Indian Council, and she founded the Network of Indian Psychologists, now known as Society of Indian Psychologists, and this is the newsletter to exchange information about services available to Indian communities. World War II led her down an unexpected path. She became one of the first female officers in the Coast Guard. That's a whole thing on its own, in my opinion. Very cool. Her service involved crucial research on submarine sinkings, survival guides, and extensive work with children and minorities. And after the war, she returned to her studies. She got a PhD. She earned a PhD from Stanford in 1952 while raising her son. So her commitment to community mental health began to flourish as she engaged with mental health needs of American Indian communities in Oklahoma, covering 7 distinct tribes. And this basically, she relocated to Philadelphia in 1968, and she collaborated with other prominent psychologists. And then she got into network therapy, which was a revolutionary approach that extended the therapeutic network beyond immediate families to include neighbors, community members, kind of a bigger picture look at community support. So her dedication to understanding cultural context in therapy became clear during this period, bridging gaps in understanding the experiences of Black clients as well. And Stanford University renamed an academic building as the Carolyn Lewis Attneave House. And this was done not only to honor the legacy and contributions of this woman, but as an opportunity to inspire continued conversations about the contributions that Native Americans have made and make to Stanford. Okay, Martha Bernal. She was from Texas. She was the first Latina to earn a doctorate degree in psychology in the US. She was born in 1931. Okay, as a female Mexican American, Bernal encountered numerous challenges from an early age. In kindergarten, she was not allowed to speak her first language, which was Spanish, leaving a sense of shame over her heritage. In high school, professors advised her and her sisters to avoid challenging courses. Don't get me started. With her cultural background as an immediate characteristic that foreshadowed her future in society's eyes. So basically, the professors at that time were kind of like, yeah, skip the hard courses. You'll be okay. And that was not what happened. So, overcoming family pressure and societal expectations, she fought for the opportunity to attend college, which she did. She challenged traditional gender roles and prevailing stereotypes. And her journey through graduate school was marked by more adversity. Her and only one other student of color faced a white male environment. Female graduate students were rarely invited to work with professors on different research projects, and mainstream research primarily involved white students. Even after earning her PhD, she faced gender based discrimination and she was denied faculty positions solely because she was a woman. So, respect and equality in the workplace and education were significant issues, and these were the primary reasons that she pursued higher education. So, influenced by the prejudice that she faced in school and the doubt from high school and college professors, she fought her way through. She made it to the top, and she focused her research on multicultural psychology programs. During her time in psychology, the US underwent significant social and political change. We're talking about huge changes. The civil rights movement, and the women's liberation movement. And these movements aim to ensure respect and equality for everyone, regardless of race, gender, or ethnicity. Her experiences growing up as a Mexican American woman in a bicultural environment fueled her determination to make these changes. She attended graduate school when women and ethnic minorities were vastly underrepresented in psychology among both faculty and students. She was the first woman of Mexican descent to complete and be awarded her PhD in clinical psychology, and she made history and broke barriers of her time, which opened the doors to future ethnic minority, gender, and psychologists. So she basically she focused on diversity in training, recruitment, and research. In 1996, she researched and established a pioneering laboratory dedicated to studying responses and classical conditioning in autistic children with the help of a grant from the National Institute of Mental Health. She worked to understand the severity of learning theory and methods for treating and assessing children with behavior problems. And she contributed significantly to the impact and development of different treatment therapies. Bernal was dedicated to bringing awareness to minority injustices and basically ensuring the students of color had the opportunity to receive graduate training. She became involved in drafting the Board of Ethnic Minority Affairs, the bylaws, and the complex process involved in establishing this board in the first place. She played a crucial role in different leadership positions, serving on this education and training committee and establishing the National Hispanic Psychological Association, where she became the second president. Um, this organization became the support system of Hispanic psychologists, and this would provide collaboration, opportunity, mentorship, and advocacy within the field. Okay, next person, Kitch Childs. So she was born in 1937 in Pennsylvania. She was the youngest in her family, and she was sister to her three older brothers. She and her brothers moved away from Pittsburgh when she was young to her grandmother's house in southern Chicago. They grew up in a city that was heavily segregated, so split, and was also extremely violent. It was the 1940s, not a safe space for her and her family. Tragically, two of her brothers were killed because of racial violence. She was academically gifted. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in chemistry at the University of Pittsburgh in her late teens. She served in the U.S. Navy after she graduated. She got a master's degree in human development at the University of Chicago and then a PhD later, becoming the first Black woman to receive a doctorate in human development at the University of Chicago. So, as she was getting her master's degree, she went on to develop the University of Chicago's gay liberation movement as she was a lesbian. Um, she also went on to be a founding member of the Association of Women in Psychology to combat sexism in the field. She practiced psychology during the civil rights and feminist movements. So she was a firm believer in equality for everyone, especially for women, women of color, and those that are part of the LGBTQ plus community. The gay rights movement accelerated in 1969 with the Stonewall riots. This is an event that catapulted. There was police brutality. It's kind of history repeating itself over and over again, really. But this started with this event, or this kind of catapulted the gay rights movement with this event. And this was during the middle of her working towards her PhD. So you can think of how impactful this was. It became a catalyst for the modern gay rights movement. So at the time of her education, the field of psychology had a discriminatory view against LGBTQ plus communities. Um, Classifying homosexuality as a mental illness, according to the American Psychiatric Association and the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual with like all of the lists of disorders in it. So this problematic view of the community led to harmful consequences for people who were part of it, go figure, as they were believed to have an illness that could be cured through detrimental remedies, like conversion therapy. Yeah. Okay. So, part of Child's work involved working to change this view of the gay community and change the way homosexual individuals were classified, because many psychiatrists of the time viewed homosexuality as an illness, despite the attitudes kind of shifting at that time, starting to shift at that time. In 1973, it was voted to remove homosexuality as a diagnosis from the DSM-2. Right now, we're using the DSM-5, just so you know. So in 73, we were using the DSM-2. It voted to remove it, but it didn't just disappear. In 1974, it was revised to include sexual orientation disturbance for people who were distressed about their sexual orientation. That evolved into ego dystonic homosexuality in 1980, but finally in 1987 it was removed. So, removed 1987. Okay, back to her history. She was a main provider of therapy for LGBTQ plus individuals, sex workers, Black individuals, people with HIV/AIDS, and people who fell under the poverty line. She worked with Coyote, which is an acronym which I think is great. It stands for Call Off Your Tired Ethics, to promote women's rights, even if they were involved in prostitution. Women who were involved in prostitution were previously seen as having mental illness. Childs worked to break that stereotype and promote better understanding. So she expanded methods to provide therapy to these individuals and to many other psychologists kind of followed suit. She also provided the idea to the psychological community of a sliding scale for fees of therapy, which continues to be used today. So what is a sliding scale? It's kind of like pay what you can. Like, so basically, if you give proof of income, it's kind of like, I'm going to give the example of a YMCA membership. If you make not much money and you show them you don't make much money, they give you a discounted rate. Um, uh, Whereas if you can't prove that you don't make a lot of money, like the rate is like kind of high actually. So basically that's a sliding fee scale. Think of it that way. So once, if someone doesn't have any money coming in, then their fee would be less, or maybe free. And that is used today in practices. So Childs promoted the concept of providing therapy to anyone, even if they had little to no money to pay for it. Work with these minority groups expanded due to her research and her activism.